When power decides what you're allowed to hear, it has already nudged what you're going to think. I'm John Stuart Mill, yes, that one, 19th century English thinker, defender of free speech and individual liberty, visiting the 21st century thanks to my friends at A Most Excellent Adventure. I've been catching up on how you are today, your feeds, your breaking news, your We Need to Talk videos, and I want to tell you what I'm seeing and why it matters to how you think, not just what you think. A quick word on who I am and why I care. I spent my life studying how free people improve by speaking, being answered, and correcting themselves in public. I wrote on liberty to defend the one freedom that protects all the others, the freedom to hear and be heard. I didn't defend speech to flatter speakers. I defended it because it educates listeners, and, when they're honest, it educates speakers most of all. That's the lens I brought with me on this little field trip to your time. And look at the week I walked into. CBS announces Barry Weiss to head its news division, reporting to David Ellison after the Paramount shakeup. TikTok's control is discussed in the context of a pro-Trump consortium. Disney's calculations look a lot like choosing calm over a late-night host who needles power. ABC and CBS face scrutiny for paying for access around Trump interviews. The Los Angeles Times and the Washington Post are accused, depending on who you ask, of softening their coverage. I didn't read that in a dusty archive. I watched it scroll by on one of your phones while the adventure crew handed me coffee and said, "Hey, Mill, dude, what do you make of this?" Well, dudes, here's what I make of it. When you block someone's viewpoint, like Trump certainly seems to be doing with these headlines, you're assuming you can't be wrong. You're betting that your side already has the whole truth, and there's nothing new to learn from what you're silencing and shutting down. But maybe the view you're silencing is true. If so, you've robbed yourself. Because even if it's false, you lose the sharper grasp of truth that comes from its collision with error. And most often, each side holds a piece of the truth. Only open contest lets us find the missing piece and fit it in place. Belief without challenge decays into dead dogma, recited, not understood. I can hear the objection. I heard it in your comments while we were filming. There's so much misinformation. Of course there is. There always has been. The remedy for falsehood isn't slower speech, it's faster evidence. If by harm you mean direct incitement to violence or a true threat, the law can restrain it. Offense is not harm. Discomfort is the tax we pay to live among equals. Expand harm until it covers wounded pride and political embarrassment, and every faction will claim injury to silence its critics. Another thing I heard on this visit, they're private companies. They can do what they want. In principle, yes. In practice, when the state leans on them, jawboning, hinting at regulation, dangling subsidies, to make something disappear, private rules become public coercion. And when only a handful of firms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, becomes your de facto public square, they inherit duties that look a lot like a public trust. If they steer the conversation, they should show their hands. So here's the simple method I've been teaching the adventure team as we scroll. When you watch a network segment, a platform policy update, or a political interview, ask 3 questions out loud if you have to. First, clarity and reasons. Can they state the claim in one sentence and point you to at least 2 sources you can open? Not people are saying, not a feeling, real sources. And is there a measurable outcome they're aiming for? If ABC or CBS asserts a standard for paying for access, can you see that standard and the result it's meant to produce? Second, contest and falsification. Do they let the best counter-argument appear fairly? Not a cartoon opponent, the real thing. Can they state that opposing view so accurately the opponent would say, "Yes, that's me"? And do they tell you, in advance, what would change their minds? Imagine the Washington Post or the LA Times putting a little box under a big editorial. Here's the observation that would make us revise this. That isn't weakness, that is intellectual hygiene. Third, transparency and parity. When they pull a post, kill a segment, or re-edit an interview, do they give notice and a reason with an appeal? Are those reasons logged publicly? And do they audit themselves for parity across factions and friends? If TikTok, or any consortium running it, enforces a rule, is that rule enforced the same way on everyone? If CBS elevates a particular editorial vision under new ownership, do the standards stay the same when the subject changes? Run those three questions on anyone: CBS, TikTok, Disney, ABC, The Times, The Post, your favorite Substack, your least favorite podcast, your own tribe. If they pass, trust them more. If they fail, don't scream. Insist, politely and publicly, on method. Rules, not favor. Method, not tribe. And because I'm here as a guest of a most excellent adventure, let me say what I said off camera the first time we scrolled past those headlines together. You cannot outsource this work to the people you already agree with. The side you like today will be the side under the rule tomorrow. You want rules that protect your enemies when they lose, and protect you when you do. That's the only way any of us gets to keep thinking in public. Let me repeat that so it really lands. You want rules that protect your enemies when they lose, and protect you when you do. There's another danger I recognized the moment we started filming. I warned in my century that the tyranny of the majority would arrive not only through law, but through custom, through penalties so severe that people dare not say what they think. You're now living that. Careers end over a sentence. Algorithms amplify outrage and bury nuance. People speak in code to avoid being misunderstood on purpose. This isn't virtue, it's fear. And fear is a solvent of thought. So here's my ask, from this very modern setting, having read your very modern comments. If you govern, stop using pressure to make private forums do your censorship by proxy. Guard adults from violence and fraud, not viewpoints. If you own or steward a platform or a press outlet, publish your rules in plain language. Separate ownership from editorial judgment. Log your decisions with reasons. Allow appeals. And commission independent audits of whether you treat different sides the same. If you teach, grade the steelman, not the slogan. If you speak, say what would change your mind before you argue for your view. And if you listen, and you must listen, demand receipts, and then actually read them. Some will say, but these issues are settled. Wonderful. Show your work. If the facts are as firm as you claim, they'll survive the best counter-argument. If not, you'll be grateful you found the crack now, instead of after it widens. Let me finish where this visit began. Phone in hand, coffee from the adventure crew, and those headlines running across the screen. Whether the story names CBS or TikTok, Disney, or a paper of record, apply the same three questions. Can they state the rule? Can they show the reason? Can they treat opponents with parity? If yes, support them. If not, ask them calmly and publicly to fix the method. I didn't write for the powerful, and I'm not here to soothe the loud. I'm here for you. The citizen who wants truth discovered in daylight, not decreed by ownership or office. Trade open contest for the convenience of a consolidated press. And you won't get the peace of truth. You'll get the quiet of fear. To wrap things up, thank you to a most excellent adventure for dragging a 19th century philosopher into your group chat, and back here for a view of how things are going. Keep going with this project. And you viewers, please like and subscribe to support them and see more historical characters and their insights into how you are doing. And finally, don't forget, ask those three questions I gave you. Rules, not favor. Method, not tribe. Dare to know. Dare to hear. Dare to answer.